already have a file I've created for you. That is preparation. I will be sharing these files with us. So in the preparation file, there is a preview. Always, now we start off with what are the objectives. Number one, we have our file. Here it is. Before we go into that, you as a planner, every day you have to wake up, you have to make a plan before even you start any report. They always say you can take 80% of your time planning. It will only give you 20% to complete the job you have. But the moment you dive into anything that you have not planned, I assure you, you can even take 2 days working on a report which cannot end. Because every time you'll be having different things coming up which were not on your plan. So when you look at this, I already put up a plan. I put up objectives, and always they should be your objectives, what you're going to do. We have already read in our data set what they request of us. The objective is to profile and prepare the raw data for analysis. How are we going to prepare our data to start analyzing it? Now, here on my objectives, prepare the data, the raw data for analysis. I can enlarge this for those who have joined using a phone to make sure that it is somehow visible. But don't mind, we are recording this call. You can always go back. But the challenge is the world is moving. People, you'll not always go back to record, to watch these recordings, not until you prepare some time to do practice and review where you don't understand. So prepare the data for analysis. Your first objective is to explore the coffee shop data set, conduct some basic data QA, quality assurance, and profiling. Profiling is looking out for just understanding what the data is all about. How many cities am I having? How many dates am I having? How many this, that? The moment you understand that, it becomes easy. Your mind triggers a lot when you summarizing out for what graphs, what charts, what do you need to summarize out from that data. And calculate the dates, time, fields to prepare the data for analysis. Always, when we are looking at data which we should use for data-driven decisions, there is always you must be always having a date. Because if you have data and you don't know when that data was generated, then it means that any decision you make, you're skewing. Imagine you're using data for 1997 to relate to the business that is running right now. You're just skewing, which means if you have time, you always know that in December, these are the sales this supermarket makes. In January, these are the sales this supermarket makes. Because it is a go back to school, then there are a lot of dynamics, and those are the reasons you put up after you have created your dashboard to the owners of the business. You go to the owners of the business, you know what? I want an investment of 2 million because this business in December, it needs more stock. Why? Because we have a lot of purchasing rates that go on within Christmas period. This business doesn't need too much investment in May. Why? Because maybe students are in holidays, there is no much purchasing that goes on, blah, blah, blah. Those are the analogies we have always to come out with. And here now we have AI, which will support us to do this. Now, the first thing in our exploration for data, they are saying, take a moment to familiarize yourself with data. How many transactions were recorded, over what period of time, what products and product categories were sold. Then after we have done this, we are going to tick it off. So let's flip to our data. We'll go through this. So I will flip to my data. This is our data we have downloaded. Rita, do you have anything, or we can mute you? Okay, thank you. So this is our data we have downloaded. The first thing always to do is insert filters. And someone will get surprised why I have most of the icons at the top here. This we call this a quick access toolbar. I told you we are going to do projects, but we are going to touch a lot of things. That's why you have to be keen enough. So this is a customized quick access toolbar. The things I use every time, I leave them here. I don't have every time to click on insert to look for an icon or a function. So for you who hasn't put your filters here, you'll go to home, you'll come and click here, you'll come and click here. Those are 3 clicks. Those are 3 seconds already taken off your time in a day, of which me who has put it here, it is only 1 click. How do you put the icons you use or the functions you use in the access toolbar? This is the way how you do it. I will first remove this. Let me remove it. We put it again. So I have removed the filter. I want the filter to be in the quick access toolbar. We call it QAT. So I will come to where the filter is. Here it is. Right click on it and say add this to quick access toolbar. The moment I add it, even I can rearrange it here. Here it is, which means if I want to put filters, click anywhere in your data, put the filters. Now all my columns have filters. Now I can go ahead and explore, understand my data. First thing, I go to transactions. When I click on transactions, you may not scroll up to the bottom. You can always say sort large to smallest. Then you see our data. This is the maximum it has. If there are other numbers or names, they put a name instead of the transaction ID. Those are the errors. Those are the dated data we shall have to remove before we start analyzing. Now here I'm already aware that I only have numbers which run up to a maximum of 149,456. And surely, when we look at where we got this data from, they were telling us that these are the total rows that are there. So you can take it back or you may not take it back because we are still in exploration. You can come here on the transaction date, make sure that when I click on the filter, I should see all the dates arranged in this format. Whenever you click on the filter for a column for dates and you don't see your dates in this format, like year, then months, then 1, 2, 3, because when I click on January, you have to see 1, 2, 3 up to 31. If you don't see it in this format, you only see dates 0/1, 0/2023, 02/0. It means that your column is not readily formatted as a date. It means that is you note down, I have work to do to format my date column. So we have already seen our data runs from January to June. Well and good. That's what already they told us in our preparation data here, that the data collected here runs from Jan to June. Then continue exploring. This is time. Our time runs from 6, that is in the morning, to 20:57, that is in the evening. Ideally, if it is a coffee shop, which means nearly it opens at 6 and closes at around 9 in the evening. Well and good. We already know that. It means when I'm creating this data, I already know what I'm dealing with. It means that if I found there a time like midnight, 1 a.m. in the morning, it means that that was a wrong entry. We can't have a coffee shop that closes at 9 and you have a data that was entered at 1. Those are the things you always have to pick up from your data. Then the transaction IDs 1 to 9 is these are transactional quantities, which means there is no transaction or there is no customer. There are no customers who have ever given more than 8 cups of coffee. You get it? It means the maximum you have sold in 6 months, as in quantities, in a single transaction, has been 8. Then the store ID, we have 3 stores. Number 3, 5, and 8. These are IDs of the stores. And let's come on the store locations. In ideality, also we have 3. It means that every store here has its own number. Now, when we go into another extended, yes, we can sort time. Here you can say smallest to largest. You see it is giving me from 6 to the last one. If I want to go to the last bottom part, I do a control down arrow. I will go to the last, which is 2059. So you see that at 2059, that's when they have ever done their last transaction. They close the shop at immediately 9. So immediately 6 a.m. they open. It means that even though you have people going early, the early birds going for work, they are waiting for coffee, you will not make any transaction until it is 6. People can be there in the lounge, you preparing coffee. The first transaction starts at 6. The last transaction is at 9. The moment you put time into concept of any business, because here we are looking at how do we set up a business, how do we analyze businesses. So you can see how that is. Then here you'll see the location IDs, the store locations. Then the products, they have IDs. So we can say, we can even sort here largest to smallest. We see what is the highest ID we have, that is 87. And ideally, 87, when you look at category, every 87 here is a coffee, right? In other words, if you want to sample out that, I can say, let me sample out like any number like 5. If I filter that 5, does it give me one category ID here? Indeed, it gives me one category ID, meaning that every ID here has its own product. So as you deal with data, as you go ahead to deal with data, know that in the databases, we store their IDs. There are different tables. We are going to see that when we reach a Power Query, like around in the 50th project we shall have. You love it where you get different tables from different sources and combine them and work with them in one dashboard. I will remove the filter by clearing filter here. Then we are still doing exploration. We are understanding our data. That is always the first step you should do. Product type, when I look at the product types, they are match. We don't have an ID for product type, but it can always be also there. Then this is the product detail, like an explanation to this. So it means every product here will have an explanation. Let me say if I filtered out one at random, let's say flavors, you'll find that on product type, we have 2 flavors, the regular syrup and the sugar-free syrups. Then when you come to the product details, they have different explanations. We have caramel, we have chocolate, we have hazelnut, we have sugar-free vanilla. Those who take those who take coffee with all these flavors know what we are talking about. But this time, we are analyzing data for a coffee shop. Does it mean it's only Lower Manhattan that opens at 6 among the 3 stores? Now, for you are crossing the bridge before you reach it. That is exactly the stories you're supposed to tell after we have analyzed this data. Now, I think it's good you ask that question, James. It's good you ask that question that when we reach at the end and visualize all this data into a dashboard, the business owners will ask us which shop opens early every day or on Sunday or on Thursday. The data will easily tell us. But the format it is right now, we may not easily tell, but it's good. James, you have picked it out as soon as we sorted this smallest to largest. You clearly saw that Lower Manhattan is at the top. It means that there is, Simon, I will meet you for now. It means that There is an employee in Lower Manhattan who needs or who deserves a prize for opening early. And when you look at opening early, which means when we shall reach a time, we shall see how much revenue have we collected for a certain store opening early. For this data, we may not have the whole story. And always, when you have your data ready, you can always bring the teams up to speed. Lower Manhattan, why do you open up early? Then you'll ask like Hell's Kitchen, why do you open late? They will tell you that where Hell's Kitchen is located, maybe it is in a mall, which mall opens at 7. So that one is already a blocker. You as a business owner, now you look into, should I move Hell's Kitchen from that mall to another mall? It is already data that is bringing all that decisions. But you can't wake up and make a decision that we are relocating Hell's Kitchen to another location when you don't have data that speaks to, that is going to improve on your revenue, that is going to improve on your customer base. There are a lot of things we look at. It is unfortunate in this data we don't have customer IDs. We would even have counted how many customers do we have in each location. But here we shall tell by transactions. How many transactions are created in the morning of maybe a Thursday or in the afternoon of a Sunday in a certain store location. So, guys, we have taken around 10 to 15 minutes to analyze our data, and we already have at least an idea what the data is talking about. The challenge we always do is we dive into data without doing the exploration. So exploration is always number one. So here, which means you who has created your checker in your notebook, you can always even have your checker which is a constant for every day, like a TDL, a to-do list. Now, here I'll come and check off now. I have taken a moment and I have familiarized myself with my data. Next thing, they are telling me, can you add a new column to calculate revenue? That is price times quantity. All this, you'll have planned it on a side. I took 80% of my time to plan. Then it is going to take me 20% to execute. But if you want to take 20% to plan, it is going to take you 80% to develop that report. 80% may be even a week. We have fallen culprits where your boss tells you, I need a report in the afternoon. You become sick because you didn't complete it. And you have to extend it to the next day. The next day, you kill someone at home. My sister has passed on, so I will not come to work because you're buying time. All that comes because you don't plan. But from today onwards, start planning for everything you do. So here we are going to add a new column for revenue. So we shall go to our data. We have started off, by the way. So we shall go to our data. We are adding here a revenue column. So I will add revenue. Revenue. And we all know that revenue, to get revenue here, we have the unit price, we have leave out. This ID is not aggregatable, it is just an ID. We have the quantity here. So we have to multiply this quantity and the unit price for us to get the revenue. So I'll do equals to, you can always use your arrows to move your cursor. When you start dealing with data, you also have to look into a way on how to reduce touching the mouse every time. How about cleaning the data, remove duplicates in case they are there? Yes, that one is vital, cleaning data, but the data we are having today is actually clean. I forgot to tell you that. The data I chose today was clean because we shall have another project where we are cleaning data. Today, the data we have is clean. First of all, there is no instance of removing duplicates. Obviously, duplicates I may require to remove them in case there is anything that has a duplicate transaction ID. Actually, we can first do it. Now, there are things that shouldn't be a duplicate. You can have the same date, you can have the same time, you can have same quantities, same ID, location can be the same. Everything here can be the same. But there is always something in your report that has not to be a duplicate at any point. This is a transaction ID. So the transaction ID can never be duplicate. So if I want to check whether we have duplicates here, you can select the whole column. Don't select the whole data. When you select the whole data, it is a different analogy. Select the whole column, come to home, condition formatting, then look out for highlight duplicates. Do you know how many steps I've gone? Home, go to condition formatting, go to highlighting, then come and look for duplicates here. But someone who is wise enough on this call from today will know that if I create a QAT here, a quick access tool here, it is easy for me to click and already I have the function. So today, go ahead and create your own quick access tools. So clicking here, that is one. Clicking on the conditional formatting, that is two. Going to highlight cell rules, that is three. Looking out for duplicates, that is four. 5 seconds already gone. You'll never recover those 5 seconds. But me, who will select here and click here, I have already killed the 4 seconds off. So I will highlight duplicates. We always go with the default. We have highlighted duplicates. Now let's look out for if there is any highlight. So you can even come to sort by color and see whether there is any color that has created. So if you find there is no color, it is just the default color that is there. It means that we don't have a duplicate. What am I talking about? That if I copy this and paste it here, we shall undo. You see, it is going to highlight because it is a duplicate. It means that when I come here to look out sort by color, you'll see the colors, right? That will show you that you have duplicates. But the moment you don't have duplicates like this, that is a quick checker you do. Thanks, Nathan, for bringing that. That's a quick checker you do. You know that this column should never have duplicates. Come to sort by color. There is no color. It means everything is unique. Go ahead and do the other business. Joan, I'll meet you in case you don't have anything for now. Guys, I have someone who will always act as a co-host on these projects we shall be running called Virungi Godfrey. Last time we are not with him, but here we are. He will always try to answer some of the questions in the chat such that we don't keep dragging back. And in case you mute, he will always come through to do that or to interface. Thanks, Godfrey. We are creating our revenue column equals to we multiplying unit price times. A times is a shift with 8. That star is always the times in Excel. Then times. You see, I'm using my arrow keys, but you can also use your mouse, like click, click, click. But arrow keys are always a good thing to go for. Someone in finance will always tell you that that is the perfect thing they can always find easy. So the moment I get the first calculation, how do I drag this? Please don't drag like this until remember we have 149,000. You can never drag up to there. So the only thing is come always to this corner. There is that black spot. When you move your cursor, it will change that cursor to that thick black one. We call that a crosshair cursor. Double click on it. When you double click on it, it is going to run that data up to the end. But that only works if you don't have a blank column here in the middle of K and L. Just note that. So if we do control down arrow to check whether our data has been, our function has worked up to the end, you always have to do those checks. Because in case there is a blank somewhere or a block somewhere, this formula may not reach at the bottom and you may not know. At the end of the day, your dashboard starts giving wrong numbers. You also don't know where they are coming from. So always try to check on that. So we are going to change this to USDs. We shall change this to USDs. So
to intercept a little.
Okay.
You guided us on not only to be using the touchpad, but we can equally use keyboard keys to be fast. So how does someone use the keyboard keys to move from one cell to the other? Thanks.
To move from one cell to the other, obviously, the keyboard keys he's talking about, those are the arrow keys. We have the arrow keys always on your right hand. If you are left-handed, you can always change the configurations, but it becomes hard. But obviously, even if you are left-handed, your right hand can always use those keys. Now, if I want to use my keys without using the mouse to fill this, how am I going to do it? First of all, I have to first go up to the bottom. How do I go to the bottom? I can't do like this. I'll go to the bottom of the Excel, which is always the 1,048,000. So let me go back. So always come to the nearest column, do a control down arrow. It will take you to the bottom last value of that. Hover now to the other blank row we want to fill with our formula. Press Ctrl Shift, then up arrow. Ctrl Shift up arrow means that we want to move to the top up to the first value we created with a formula. A shift means that wherever this cursor passes has to highlight those cells. So Ctrl Shift up arrow. It is going to select everything from the bottom up to where we put our first formula. Then when you reach here, you press a Control D. I hope we all have a notebook somewhere to write this, but we shall be reusing them such that you understand. So when I press a Control D, Control D means you're duplicating the first value selected here up to the last selection you have. Our last selection, we have selected the whole data. So we are duplicating the formula in 5 up to the bottom. But remember, this formula is relative. It has relative references. Like it is referring to these cells relative. Relative means that when I move to row number 5, it is referring to everything. Row number 5, row number 10, like that. So Control D, this formula is going to run up to the bottom. So when you check here it is looking at 6. When you go like somewhere in the middle and check, the formula is reading right with the relative cells as it goes at the bottom. So using a shortcut, that's how you can do it. Once again, for those who have not picked it, but remember we have a target to complete this project. Come to the neighboring column, control down arrow, it takes you to the bottom, move on the right in your blanks column you want to fill, control shift up arrow, you select up to the top because you already have your first formula, control D, you duplicate that formula up to the bottom in all the selections you have done. So there you have used the keyboard, you have not touched the mouse, but don't struggle. You will learn slowly. You can even take months. It shouldn't be a struggle. For now, use the mouse, please. Okay, we have created our revenue. I will go ahead and change the revenue column to currency. You can always come directly here on numbers and click on currency. You look out for the currency you need. This time we want USDs in dollars. I'm not going to go for the shortcuts right now. We shall have a different project on shortcuts. So I'll click on that and it will put all these in USDs. So you can want them in 2 decimal places or 1 decimal place. Now, since we have a value here that is 3.75, it means the 2 decimal places is okay, right? So we may not need to reduce the decimal places. But if you always want to reduce, you come here, this is increasing, this is reducing. and it is the reverse in Google Sheets. So that thing always disturbs people. So in Google Sheet, you'll always find this reducing, this increasing. So, but you can always hover and get that tooltip. It shows you what you meant to do. So we have had our first column of revenue. Let's go back to our objectives. We see, you will have noted all this down. You keep ticking off. So we tick off that. Now the next is add new columns for month, day, week, based on the transaction date. So you can even display them in like Jan, Feb, Sunday, Monday instead of numerical values. Well and good. Let's go there. Now, since we need to make an analysis, we know which day do we have many cells, which month do we have many cells. We need to create these columns for day and month. So let's start. I'm going to start with month. I'm going to start with month. Sorry, I have to save. I will start with month. Then I will have, that is going to show us the month number. Then here I will have month name. Then we shall have the day. Then here you'll have the, in other words, here you'll have the weekday, name of the day. So you can name them the wherever you want, but it is all about whether your clients or your recipients will easily read this. Now let's start with a month. There are many formulas we can use, but month itself has its own function. I'm not going to pick the year, actually even the hour, because we need the hour. Already James has hinted on that, which means that is something you will need to visualize on. So month, we use the month function, since we already have the month function. This one will return for us a number, 1 for Jan, 2 for Feb, 3 for March. So I can go ahead and use my cursor. This is the date. I enter, it will give me 6. It is giving me 6 because this is June. Then I can go ahead and run this to the bottom. That is done. Then come to the name of the month. Now, name of the month, we don't have a direct formula you can use, but we use a text function. Now, just be attentive on this. The text function we use is equal to text. We go and select the value. The value is the date, this, then comma. We have to put the format of the date. We are using only 3 M's to make sure that I have it in short. So you see you have April, Feb, Jan, June, May, name them. We use text. Then we go and select the value of the date, which is that, comma, open quotes. I was explaining that when you use 2 M's, it gives you 06. When you use 3 M's and close quotes, it gives you June in short. When you put the 4th M, it will give you the month in full. So if I run this with the month in full, you see how bulk it is, like January. Imagine you're trying to make your dashboard, but there is a January that keeps squeezing and disappearing. So that's why I will opt for the short of naming months, that is using 3 M's. Then I can run this to the bottom, Control Shift down arrow, Control D, and here we go. Then now let's go to the weekday. The weekday, you can also use weekday, that is it. Then our serial is in, that is the date, comma. Then now the weekday function here is asking us to pick, is your week starting from Sunday to Monday, Sunday to Saturday? That is use 1. If it starts from Monday to Sunday, use 2. All those options are there. Depending how your business which is the first day of the week. You may be in a certain religion and you're working in a certain country. For them, they rest on Thursday. Their first day of the week is Friday. You'll take the norm at that. But Excel gives you all the options. Obviously, I will go with number 2, making Monday as day number 1 and making Sunday as day number 7. So I will select a 2. That is, I will do a tab and close. So it will give me.
It's great. Till there.
Yep.
For us working in kiosk, I see quite a number. We work Monday to Saturday. What option would you choose in that case?
Monday to Saturday, still you'll have to choose. Most of the reportings, you'll find that it is always a Monday to Sunday. That is number 2. Number 1 as a Monday through 7 as a Sunday. You get. So you can even always know what the business wants to, how to communicate. But by default, number 1 and number 2, they are the default ones. Where people consider Sunday as number 1, others consider Monday as number 1. So the others, it depends on how you do it. But still at the end of the day, still for it will give you the same date. It doesn't mean that when you use, let's say number 3, that it will give you a Monday as number 4. No, still it will give you Monday as 0, but still it will bring it as a Monday. It will not change the date. It is the way how you're considering which is number 1, which means when you're sorting them, Monday will be on the top, Sunday will be at the bottom. But the person who has used number 3, the person who has used number 12, Tuesday will be at the top, Monday will be at the bottom. So you can always use any, but we shall go with 2 since this is what we are used to. So here they are giving us 6, meaning, before we reveal it, I can go ahead here and change this date to a name, the name of the day. Then we know, is a 6 a Saturday, or then we shall run that up to the bottom. So here still you use a text function. The value is in B2. I will not go back. We know the date is in B2 we are dealing with, comma. The format, I will open brackets. Still the same thing. When you put 2 Ds, when you put 1 D, close, it will give me this. Here it gives you 10th of the month. When you put 2 Ds, it gives you 10. If it is a 1, it would give you 01. That is the day of the month. But if we need the name of the day, we go ahead and put the 3rd D. So the 3rd D brings you a Saturday, which is a Saturday. When you put the 4th D, the 4th D gives you a full name, which is Saturday. But remember, I'm moving with a short naming, which is that. So I can go ahead and select these 2, double click to fill up to the bottom, and it will do so. So the 3 is a Wednesday, the 5 is a Friday, easy. The 4 is a Thursday, easy. So that is done. Let's complete with hour. Then we can jump on something else. We are 1 hour on top of our time. So equals to, we want to pick an hour from here. You see here we have an hour, minutes, and seconds. We want to look at only the hours. So our time is in C, which means I can go ahead and type here the formula without looking there. Equals to hour. Hour has its own function. The serial is in C2. C2, it is where our time is. The first we are using, that is 6. It brings a 6. So I will drag this up to the bottom. Boom. It gives us a 6. If now I try to filter, you see 6, 7, 8, 9. You saw that up to 20. Let's go ahead and if I want to put a 0 in front, now this is another technique you can always use. Now, if you always want to have 2 digits, select always that column, go to number formatting, click on this more number formats. You'll see where Geno is, go to customize. Now, on customize, where there is a word delete general, delete this word general and put 2 zeros. 2 zeros means that I want 2 digits. 3 zeros mean I want 3 digits. 4 zeros means I want 4 digits. So if I say like this, it gives you the 4 digits. But I want only 2 digits. So that is just a trick you can always use to have a constant number of digits. I know some of you have always typed a phone number and the 0 disappears. You can always use this trick by coming here, putting the 10 zeros, and it will always give you that number with 10 digits, and the 0 will be forced there as a must. So here I want only 2 digits. So which means when I filter, you see 0607. Why do we do this? I know some of you should have sorted some data somewhere, and you see a 1 comes, then next there comes 11, and you wonder 1 and 11, how are they coming near each other? Because it is looking at 1 first to filter, then it goes to filter 2. You see a 2 comes, then a 20 comes, and you wonder what is this? You're on 30, it comes 30, a 3, and then a 30 comes. Yet I wanted 3, 4, 5. So always include these zeros such that a 0 should read 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3. By the time we reach 10, then we start 1, 0, 1, 1, that is 11, 1, 2, that is it, until we reach 19, 1, 9 to go to 0, 2, 0. So 2, 0 and 0, 2 will be different. But when you don't put this 0, a 2 and a 20 will always come to near each other because it is trying to sort them alphabetically. I think that is it. We have done enough on now in data analysis. We call this one, we can call it data mining, you can call it data manipulation, but this is mining data. You see, mining is getting something from what is existing. We here they mine minerals because they are getting those minerals from the ground that is already existing. So we call this data mining, but in brief, it is not the real data mining, but this is part of data mining. Now, let's go back to our objectives. Going to try to increase on my speed. Boom. We have done this. We have created all this instead of numerical values. Blah, blah, blah. Now, add new column to extract our. We have done also this. Now, objective number 1 is done. Done deal. This was part of our preparation. So this is done deal. I can just give it a light green to show that that is done. Now we go to objective number 2. Explore the data with pivot tables. Your second objective is to slice and dice the coffee shop data with Excel pivot tables and create views to analyze time series and product level trends. So that's what we are going to focus on right now. Our objective number 2. Our second objective is to slice and dice. Now we are going to create pivot tables. So when you're creating pivot tables, we already have what it takes for us to create pivot tables with ease. We have already summarized our data. We have already done all the necessary parts it requires for us to have it. So we go ahead and now insert a pivot table on a new tab to show revenue by month. Let's kick off. Now we shall go to our data. So we are going to create here another sheet. This sheet, I will call it summary. That's where we're going to make all our summaries from. And I will create another sheet which I'll call dashboard. So they are asking us to create a summary, the first summary, that is a pivot of revenue by month. So you'll go to insert, then you insert a pivot here. So when you click on insert pivot, if I had not created the sheet summary, I would have said create on a new. It creates a new, then I rename it. But since I have already put it there, without clicking anywhere, I'll come and click here on existing worksheet, click in that location text box, go wherever you want to put your pivot table, click the first cell where you want to put it. Someone will get surprised, why am I not clicking here? I always want to leave one column at the left and one row at the top, just to make sure that it is backup. You may want to put a header, you may want to do anything. So without clicking anywhere, this is it. I'll come and say, add this data in data models. I will explain this when we reach modeling and Power Query, but for now you can always click on it. I will explain the reason why you always have to click it. Even if you don't click it, sometimes you can work without any hiccup, but I will show you the purpose why we do this, then do OK. So it is going to create a canvas for the pivot table. Then here in this pivot table, they are telling me to have revenue by month. Now, these are the columns. And why you see the other tick, the check we did on add this to data labels, this is what it does. You can bring many tables different from the different sources. So here they want us to, you can even search. If you have many columns, you don't have to keep scrolling. You can even search for them here. I want revenue, you drag revenue and put it under values. Here we get this and it is summing it up. Well and good. Then what else do we need? They told us to bring month. So we are going with the month name. So I'll drag the month name under rows. And in a blink of an eye, we shall already have our data summarized by month. But you see, Apple is at the top by default because it has A alphabetically. F next, then the J's are at the bottom, which is not right. So you can always come here and sort this A to Z. So for you, when you say sort A to Z, since Excel already knows that Jan stands for January, April stands for April, Jan is number 1, April is number 4, it will always do that sorting for you. But the moment there is, maybe Jan has JN and I at the end or a Y, it will not recognize it and it will remain looking at Apple as if it should be at the top. So after you have done this, we can first do a few setups before we start replicating it into others. So what do I need here? I can go to design first. You go to report layout and change this to tabular. Why do we change this to tabular? Is because I want this row label you're seeing, I want it to name it as how it is meant to be from the table itself. So you can come to design and make a few designs. So my first thing always I go to is always changing my pivots to tabular form. So you see it brings the table name and this. So you can change this by removing some of, but you have to make sure that it doesn't resemble the header the other side in our data. The moment I enter, most of the cases, because you have revenue the other side, it will tell you that heading exists. So you can always put like a space ahead to remove that pop-up that will always come. So then another thing you note that when you click outside the pivot, this pivot, the pivot fields disappear. When you click out, they disappear. When you click in the pivot, they come back. That's the default with Excel. You can never have these fields when you're not clicked in the pivot. Since these ones are USDs, we can go ahead and change this format to dollars. So when you right click and say number format, you come here and change this to currency. That is, I always work with UGX, but this time we are going to look out for a dollar. You can pick any USD, though their values are not the same, but here we are looking just at a symbol, and we can leave out the decimals. Okay, it will change this. But the challenge is every time I'm changing, you see, every time I do any change on this pivot, Let me do maybe do another formatting, maybe increase this to 1. Okay, it keeps changing the width of the pivot. How do you deter that from changing? Right click on this, go to pivot table options. Or if you're in your pivot table and you go to pivot table analyze, there is pivot table options here. There are 2 options. So when you come to these pivot table options, there is always this check, auto fit column width on update. Every time you update your pivot tables, change format and do that. So you can always uncheck this, such that the width you set is the width you'll always have. Then there is preserve cell formatting on update. If you have cell formatting, like you have put colors, green, red, this, every time you do a change, those colors disappear. You can always come and change that. Then for empty cells, show what? 0 blank, the word blank, what should it show? You can always put that, but by default, it shows here blank. So there are many settings, guys. We shall come back for that later. Do okay. So you see now this time it has not changed. It is me now to master the width of the column I need. Okay, let's go ahead and create the other summaries. So we have created for revenue. This is done. They are saying add 2 more pivots on the same sheet to show the number of transactions by day of the week, by hour. Let's do that. Let's do that here. And how do you do that? Since you already have this and you have clearly formatted this, just copy and paste. But remember, this is asking us the number of transactions. It is not talking about revenue. It is talking about the number of transactions. So you have to be keen. This time we need the number of transactions. So when I copy this, I can always skip 1 column and put it here. Now, since this is a different pivot table, it will always change depending on what you do because it is a different one. Then another thing, let's not forget, we need to rename always your pivot tables. When you come to pivot table analyze, every pivot table is given a default name. So you can always rename them. So I will always call this as a PVT, that is pivot, and I put rev because this is revenue. Then this one, it is called pivot table 2, such that I can easily tell which pivot table is it if I get many on the same sheet. This one I can call it PVT since this is going to be transactions by week. So I can call here transactions maybe by day. Let's start with the day. So it means here I'm going to change these transactions by day. So I remove this revenue, drag and drop it outside, it will disappear. Even if you drag this and drop it outside, it disappears. You get it? Don't struggle canceling. Now we want day. So week of the day is here, we put it here. It is giving us 1 to 6. No, we need the other name of the week. So we drag this one off. So when we sort this A to Z, you see it will sort Monday to Sunday. Now this is where the analogy comes in. If you had selected that your first day is Sunday, the Sunday would be at the top. You understand the reasoning we did when we are selecting which day is number 1 in our data. Then we need the number of transactions. We know we have a unique ID, which is the transaction ID. Drag it and put it here. Now, because they are numbers, it is going to sum them, and we don't need summation. So I will come and click here on sum of transaction IDs, value field settings. Clicking here, you don't right click. It is the normal left click, yeah? The normal click. So click on that, then come and look for count. Then there is always at the bottom something called count distinct. You can always use that. It counts only unique or distinct numbers. Now, this count distinct, you can only get this option if you checked the other option of add to the data model when we are creating the first pivot. This is the purpose. So you can always go back to the video and look through. So you will not have this option if you didn't check the other add to the data model. So let me go with the first one, count. It will give me the counts. You can name, change this number format. Number, we need a comma. We just need 0 decimal places. Here we go. It changes them. So since this header is too much, you can always name this as number of transactions. So we always use a hash in data to represent numbers. So you can always adopt to use that rather than writing the whole word number. So someone is asking, won't that change the data? Yeah, the whole data. Yes, when you right click and change the number format, it changes the whole data. You see, I did it only for one and it changed all these. But when you want to change your data, such that when you are using it this side, you don't keep changing formats, then there you go to Power Pivot. I never wanted to go there, but we shall do that later. You go to Power Pivot and change it from there. Every time you pick revenue, you don't have to keep changing it. It will always work with what is in the data model. But that is going to be for the next day. Thank you, Sonko. Now, they told us to create other 2 pivot tables, number of transactions by day of the week and by hour. So we copy this again and paste it here. This time we are going to do by hour. So you leave the number of transactions here, you remove this and bring hour. Don't struggle with scrolling when you have a search bar. So that is the hour. And this one sorts automatically because it is a number. I'm not surprised because it is a number 6 to 20. Now here you can easily tell, just before we do anything, you can easily tell that there are always a lot of sales of coffee from 6 to 10. After 10, it goes on reducing up to night. People don't take coffee when they are going to sleep. Maybe the long night sleepers like us who sleep at 2, they are the ones who take coffee. So here you already have the idea how the business is running even before we create the dashboard, because you already have a summary. So we go back this side, we have created that. Add pivot tables on the same sheet to show the number of transactions by product category, sorted ascending by transaction. So they want us to add the number of transactions by product category. So we shall copy the same, put it here. This time, number of transactions, but they want category, product category. We put it here, we throw out our, right? Then they are saying we sort this in ascending, descending by the number of transactions. So you come here, you say sort. Now we are not sorting A to Z, because when you sort A to Z, you're sorting this product, and they want us to sort by this, the high one to go at the top. So you come and click here. This time we use more sort options. More sort options. When you click on more sort options, there is now this. We are no longer using the default one. We are going to use, they want us descending, which means they want the biggest to the top, but descending, not using the product category, this time using the transactions. Do you get that, guys? I repeat it. They want us to sort this such that those with high transactions to go at the top. How do we do that? You come and click on this filter. Remember, pivot table, by the way, always has one filter. Never expect a pivot table to have a filter here. It doesn't. That is just a mere data or mere table. So you come and click here. You go to more sort options. Leave out this default. You look out for descending because we want the highest at the top. It is this. And this time we are not sorting by product category. We are sorting by the number of transactions. And when you do OK, boom, the highest at the top and the lowest at the bottom. Why are we doing this? We are focusing on when we start creating our graphs. How is it going to reflect? Who is at the top? Who is at the bottom? Obviously, coffee is at the top. Okay. We move. What next? By the way, we are moving objective 2. We are remaining with add a pivot table on the same sheet to show the number of transactions and revenue by product type, sorted, descending, and filtered. Okay, let's go slowly. We want another pivot table to show the number of transactions and revenue by product type. Let's go back. Do we have product type here? No, we don't have. So we copy this. We paste it here. Then, remember we want the number of transactions and revenue. We come and add here revenue. Just search revenue, put it here. Revenue has been added. Then they are saying here they need the product type. Just type the word type. Product type is here. Bring the product type, throw out product category. Here we go. Now, the next thing, we can go and rename this. Always remain with a space such that it is different from the others. And they are saying here we only need, we have added it, transaction, number of transactions and revenue, product type, we have done that. They are saying we sort descending. Let's go and do that. We want us to sort descending by what? And filter top 15 by transactions. So the number of transactions, so we have to sort first descending by the number. You see now there are two, there is revenue and transactions. You can sort by any. So this time we are sorting by number of transactions. Let's do that, okay? That is done. Then another thing, that you want only the top 15. They don't want everything. So we shall come here. You go to filter values. Just note this very well. Filter values, go and look for top 10. Even though it is top 10, you'll not get top 15 because for you want 15. Just click on that top 10, you'll change the 10 to the 15. So we shall come and click on top 10. Here they are saying us that they are, if we click OK, they are going to show us top 10. But for us, here, we need 15. Remember, we need 15 items by what value are we looking at to bring the 15 items? We are looking at transactions, not revenue, not anything else. So we are looking at this, and we are looking at 15 items, and we'll go ahead and do OK. Indeed, they are going to give us the 15 items which are here. We are clear with that. We have got the 15 items by product type. Do we have pivots that run down, which may require Control-Shift down arrow? No. In pivot tables, we don't create formulas directly. Yeah, if you have a pivot table that is too long, yes, you can do Control down arrow, you see? If you want to select, you can press a Shift as you're selecting, or Control-Shift and select everything. That shortcut works. If I press Control-Shift and the right arrow, it will select up to the right? Selecting using shortcuts, that shouldn't be a worry. But you don't calculate formulas directly in a pivot table. When you do it directly there, like I put here a column and I put a formula, that formula, when the pivot table changes, the formula remains static. Like it doesn't change with the table itself. So you have to go and create it the other side. We shall see how we create measures. We are just have to keep with us for the next 7 weekends. We shall have all these projects done. Okay, now here we go. We already have this. Now let's go ahead and rename our pivots. When I click here, and that is a discipline you do to your data, and to reduce on time of memorizing what is pivot 27, what is pivot 15, which one is it. So I'm renaming this. This is pivot transaction by day. This is pivot, PVT, transaction, hour. Don't leave a space. That's why I'm just typing them combined. Don't leave a space. Then this is going to be pivot, product, transaction. Then this is the one that has 3. So I'll call this pivot, transaction, and revenue. There we go. So it means right now if I start creating slicers, creating what?
Chris,
Yep.
instead of naming the last one pivot transaction revenue, since we have a unique filter why don't you make it pivot transaction top 15?
Yeah, it works. So you can say pivot transaction top 15. You can even put 15 here. It is all at your liberty. And at the end of the day, it is you who knows the data. But remember, if this data is to be transferred to another team, you always have to create a data dictionary. Data dictionary means it is a description of what your data speaks to. If I find there pivot TXN15, what does it mean? We shall reach a point and create some data dictionaries for our own reports. But for now, in other words, everything you're creating, you have to make sure that you can defend them. Then, most of the times, I always need to work with a neat canvas where I don't have the grid lines. Some people may need the grid lines, but they never need grid lines. So you can go ahead and I can always remove grid lines from here, such that you have your pivots that way. Someone may say the pivots are looking shabby without grid lines. You can change the design. We have a lot of designs here. You can always change to a design that you feel will give you comfort. But at the end of the day, it is all about, it's not about the design, it is about the context. So you can always change your designs to anything. If I say I'm changing this, and you can even always create a design to be your default. If I set this as default, it means on this laptop or on this workbook, every time I'm creating a pivot table, it will always be in this format. So this is a default one. You can always skip from using the default one and get your own. So you see now it is the default, which means you can always go ahead changing your, let me see, this is what we created default. So we can always go ahead as you change them depending on how you need, but that is your own like on how your things should be, look neat and all that. That's why I've removed pivots on my end. So I've removed grid lines. So now, the next thing here is the objective we have, and I see we only have 20 minutes, but this now tells me that I will have to give you guys, you're going to redo this on your own, and you'll have to share with me an assignment, and I see how you have populated, how maybe to look out for the few mistakes to clear off. Now here they are telling us to build a dynamic dashboard. The final objective is to visualize the data with a pivot charts, design an interactive dashboard, and identify insights and recommendations for the coffee shops. So you may follow up these tasks, or you may have your own hints. Obviously, we shall have pivot chart to show revenue and month, that the line chart. Then there we'll have bar charts and column charts. Let's go ahead and see. Then a slicer here, they are saying we have a slicer of store location to connect it to all the pivot tables. Then we adjust the formatting, alignment, polish it to finalize. That is, you get. Now, do you notice any interesting pattern? Those are the patterns like James had seen one when we are just starting. So let's go ahead and try to see whether we can pull off something for the dashboard. First of all, I don't need the grid lines. Potea, these ones, they go. Now I may need, I may have to hide some of the rows, columns and rows. So Control Shift right, I will select all the rows to the right. Go ahead, right click and hide them. So you see that Now our canvas stops there at T. I'm trying to create my dashboard such that it shouldn't be something I have to scroll for forever. Then here I may say that I may need maybe around 60 rows. So from 61, Control Shift down, right click and hide. I have hidden 60 downwards. So such that your dashboard becomes easy to scroll. So if I minimize this, you see it becomes something easy for you to look at in a go, in one pager. So that is an analogy I'm going with. So putting this back to 100, then kindly repeat that's Chris. Okay. I will undo twice, do once, undo twice, undo. Okay. Our rows are back, our columns are back up to the end.
Wait, so before you do what you're going to do, what is a dashboard? For us to get more context.
Yeah, a dashboard is a one-pager. A dashboard is a one-pager that summarizes all the insights from the data you're working with. Then a report is a combination of, why I don't want us to confuse it with what we call a dashboard. For now, we should know that a dashboard is a one-pager. A report is a combination of many pages or many dashboards. I don't know whether I'm speaking sense. So when you go like to Power BI and you have your report with many pages of dashboards. Yeah, generally we call it a dashboard. Obviously, there is a dashboard. It is a combination of dashboards. But when you go to the context in depth, a dashboard is a one-pager summary of all the insights in your data. Then a report is a combination of dashboards. So which means I can have a report with a dashboard from site A, with a dashboard from site B, with a dashboard from my fuel pump business, with a dashboard from my coffee shop, with a dashboard from my supermarket, but all of that combined as a report, and it is my CFO who manages that. So we call that a report, combining dashboards from different businesses. So that's the difference between a report and dashboard. But you can call it a report, you can call it a dashboard. At the end of the day, it is a summary of insights from the data you're dealing with. Someone has said, I repeat this, I want maybe from A to S. So from T going to the right, I'm hiding that. Select the first column you want to start with. Control Shift right arrow, the arrow showing the right. When you select it, it selects up to the end. The last column we always have by default in your worksheet is XFD. So hiding this, there are shortcuts. I'm not going to use the shortcuts right now because it is a Control 0. So you can always use this for now. Hide. So you'll hide all those columns. Then I will want to hide maybe from 40 going downwards. Control Shift down arrow. Hide, come here in on the labels for the row numbers. That's where you have to right click. Don't right click in the canvas. Hide, they are gone. So I have that simple. If let's say if I put this in full screen, you see how it shows if I put my Excel in full screen. Now, here I'm presenting. It means that it is going to show on one screen in whichever boardroom I'm in. So I can always, let me again slice this, hide. So you'll see that this one is showing in one screen. So it is easy for us to go ahead and present. So if I do unhide, it will unhide everything. So let me do 37 downwards. I think that's fine. Hide. Let's start off something small before 4 time is okay. Did I cancel it? Yeah. Let me open it.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, it's good we are working in a OneDrive, so it was auto-saving. Maybe I didn't tell you guys. It is always good to work in a OneDrive because I was supposed to come here, then I remove full mode screen, and I go back to show my ribbon. That's what I was looking for. Just apologies to that. So because my file is in a OneDrive, that's why you see here my autosave is on. So it is as if like I'm working like how you work in a Google Sheet. So when you go to the sheet I'm working with, you see even the status, it keeps saving. A tick means all the changes I've saved have been saved at 12:42. It is 12:43.
Do I
So because
need that? Do I need data to work in OneDrive?
no, every computer you can always sign in your OneDrive. But your OneDrive depends. If you have a free your Gmail, you'll have 5 GB of OneDrive. If you have a paid one, you can have up to 1 terabyte, like I do. Maybe some people who subscribe with Subtech, who do that annual payments, they have 1 terabyte of storage, 1,000 GB of storage. But that is that is a discussion for another time. So let's go ahead here and try to put up our dashboard. So I can start up with maybe a shape for the heading. So I can come to insert and I insert a shape for my heading. I can start from here. I don't want it to be so big. That make sure you can always use these default ones, but make sure that your report doesn't, your design shouldn't shout more than the context you're going to present. So I will make sure that I put this here. You come on shape, remove the outline. You can say no outline. Come on shape fill. Just make this a simple gray like that. So you can even go ahead and even create at the bottom, or you can select your sheet and also give it a simple gray like this one, such that it doesn't look like how other Excels look like. So you have this as your shape, which means I can go ahead and insert text. When you double tap there, you can insert text. And so here we shall say this is a coffee shop sales analysis. So Control A, I increase this to 50 as a test. It is too much. I bring it back to 40. It is too much. I bring it to 35. That. Then I can have this. You can choose out a theme you're going to use. Maybe you can say my theme is going to be maybe throughout a blue. So it means that most of the stuff you'll have them in blue and guide and bold. So this is number one. Let's now go there on our summary. We have to create now, on this we are going to create charts. Here the chart that is suitable for this is a column chart. So I'll click on that. You can even go to pivot here. You'll always have pivot, create a pivot chart here, but for me, I will find it under insert pivot chart. So if I say pivot chart, you can even have options, but if I click on that, it will bring all the charts, and this is the default one, and it is what I need. So I click on that, okay. That is pivot chart number one. I go to this, I insert another one, this is by day. Then this is going to be a line chart because it is hourly. We want to look at the trend. So I will insert here, insert pivot chart. You can come on pivot chart here, then you go on line. This is the line it is giving us. Click on that. Okay. Then here we can have this. We can have this as a bar chart, not a column chart this time, because we have more than 5. So I can insert. You can go ahead and insert a chart directly, but if you come on pivot table here, it directly connects with the pivot directly. So we have that option of insert pivot chart rather than inserting a chart directly. You can pivot chart. This time we need a bar chart here. This is the bar chart. Okay, and that is we go. Now let's start cleaning. Let's first leave out this. This we are going to take it as a table, but we are going to copy it and take a linked table. A linked table. We shall need it in that details, but we shall take a linked table. Now let's start cleaning up. I'll be speedy somehow. Then before that, let me see how we can create a slicer. So when you click in any of the pivot table and come on pivot analyze, there is creating a slicer here. I'll create a slicer and it will ask me which slicer do you need. Remember they told us we create a slicer for locations. So we can create a slicer for location. We can easily select which location we want to look at. For now, let's go with that. All the others, we have their charts. So we don't need to create slicers for them. So we can go with that slicer. So this is our slicer, which means if I click on Astoria, it is only changing this and that. Remember that was only one of the purpose why we named our pivot tables. So when we go to this slicer and we go to the slicer settings, we can remove the display since we know that these are locations, or you can rename it as select location. Then the others we can leave them the way they are. Then we come here on the report connections. So when you check on the report connections here, you see that this slice of ours is only connected on pivot rev. It is not connected on the others. And this is the purpose why I renamed. Now I can tell this is the pivot transaction top 15. This is pivot transaction by day. So I want to click all these. I want to connect to all these like this. Then I go ahead and do OK. So this time, when I click on Hell's Kitchen, it changes everything. When I click on Lower Manhattan, it changes everything. So when you cancel here, it takes it back. Now, first of all, let's move this. Let's start moving and maybe do the X from there. So we do an X and take it on the dashboard here. And here they're asking me, you're pasting an active content. Paste without active content, it means that it will not link. So I have to paste everything and enable this. So those are like security settings which you always have to enable. Now, it is upon you if you want to put this one on the side or if you want to put it horizontal. So if you want to put it horizontal, maybe you may not have the date on it. So if I click on that, since we know that these are already locations and we remove this header gone, then you can go ahead and put it horizontal by increasing the number of columns here. So if I put this here at the top, you can even have it maybe on the sides. Let's say if this shape, we have this on the side, then we bring our, there, a moment, there we go. So which means we can always select from there. There are many things we are meant to do, removing those background and what. You can go ahead and do that by clicking there, then coming to the slicer and changing its background here. You can go ahead and change those backgrounds. There are a lot of options this side upon you. Now, for now, we'll want to remain with the header. Let's remain with a header such that we have the cancellation bit of. So enlarging this here. Now, such that we have these buttons. Then let's go and pick the other graphs. So let's first take this one for trend. We cancel, we X and bring it this side. So since for trend I want it to be at the top, we can have it up to there. So you can go ahead now and start formatting this, right? You can come, which formats do we do? First of all, the first format is removing the buttons. So you see this button and this. So is it copy and paste? No, I was doing a cutting and pasting. You can copy and paste, but obviously you'll have to again delete it to the other side. So for me, I was cutting and pasting it here such that it leaves the other side. So I will remove the buttons. The buttons are gone. You can go ahead and right click on this, format data series. I will have the data series here. So you can go ahead and work on the line right now. So you can reduce
Chris,
the line.
just for purposes of the team confirming that they're actually following, maybe you could ask.
How did I remove? How did I remove the buttons? Someone has asked, how did I remove the buttons? Here. When you click on any pivot that was created as a pivot chart, it will always have pivot chart analyze. So you have these buttons, which are this and that. So you can always click here to remove those buttons. They are gone. So where I was saying I can go ahead and remove other things, or you can even click that chart always. We always have the chart designs here, a lot of them here. We have the elements you can always add here. A lot. I want you to go ahead and play with that to make it right. You can always put even lines that drop like this, and you go ahead and remove the other ones like that. Then you come here, you add data labels if you need them, like this. But if you don't need data labels, you can go ahead and remove them, like this. But when you remove data labels, it means you always have to keep the grids, the horizontal grid, the primary horizontal grid. The primary horizontal, the major ones. Such that someone can easily read. You can now reduce this. I've already shown you how you get this. Right click, or you can double click on it. You'll always have these format data options. This. So when you come to this, you'll always have the line options and the mark options. So when you click on mark, it gives you how you have to deal with these marks that are here. So you can always go to the mark options. If you have seen people creating, like putting the X's, the asterisks, what you find it here. So you see these are the marks. So you can go ahead and even change their colors and all that. Name them. I want you to go ahead and play with that. Play with that and see how you can put it right. Then here line, you can reduce the thickness of the line. Then when you go at the bottom here, you can make the line smooth. You see, the line becomes smooth than it was the other time. You can go ahead even and change its color. Since we are working with blue, we can leave it at blue, but you can go ahead and give it a different color that way. A lot can be done. Please, you can even visit our videos for that. Then this chart, I don't want them to be white like this. I want them to be somehow faint. So if I come to the chart settings, then and I say no color will automatically disappear, but I want to remain with something white. Can say solid fill. Then I come and create the white, but I increase the transparency like that. So when you increase the transparency, you see now it tries to pick out. Now here I can come and say, this is transactions per hour. Then since the hour is the major word here, I can always go ahead and bold it and give it a blue color like this. Then just to make sure that it is shouting out. So you can even move your header depending on how you need it, like in the corner. You get? So you can do that. Now let's go and bring others quickly. I know we have 2 minutes on top of our time. Now this one, let's first take the other ones, this and that. We X them, we bring them here on the dashboard. So I'll put this here. So aligning them is always something that you should always think about to make sure that you have the perfect and you have used your space right. So I want to align this to make sure. Now we remove the legends. Click on the legends, delete them. Click on this, remove the buttons. I've shown you how to remove the buttons. Then we can go ahead and increase the space for the bars. Just double click on them or right click and say format data set. It will always bring you this. Then when here you can come and increase the gap like this. That is increasing the gap like that. So you can do the same to this. When you still are selecting, you can select this side and do it also at once, like so. So this is Monday to Sunday, filtered right. So since we have already created some format here, if I click on that chart and go to home and click on format paint, so if I click on this, it automatically brings some of the formats, but doesn't bring everything because this is a line chart. So we can click on that and say, I want a solid color white, increase its transparency, like this. So I can reduce this and this to be at the bottom here. Now, for this case, I may not need these and make them as labels, which means I can add here labels, data labels, and remove the axis like that to make sure that it is neat. The header, this one was a number of transactions. Was this number of transactions? This was transactions, yes, by a day. So this is transactions per day. So you can go ahead and always make sure you highlight something that should shout out when someone comes to your report. So we can, this was revenue. Revenue
per month.
By month.
This is by month or per month. Like this. I'm not saying that always you should highlight, but for someone to come on your report and look out for something easily and get it, you always have to persuade their eyes to look at something. Like when I come on this report, let's say if we put it back in full mode, this is full mode right now. So when I come on this report, I'm seeing hour per month per day very quickly than you may not see it when the head is the same. So, which means if I click on Hell's Kitchen, it changes the data and I look at how Hell's Kitchen is performing. When I click on this, we all see what is happening. Now you see Astoria doesn't have any coffee selling before 6. For them, they start at 7. That's a question always to go for. You sit your team, why is it that for you open at 7 and you close at 7? And the other kitchens, they open at 6 and close beyond 20 hours. You get? It has already given us insights. And even Lower Manhattan, it's good at opening early and good sales in the morning, but when you come to the last hours of the day, they don't have sales. You'll find that maybe this is a remote area where people leave early from and go to their homes. So we have already picked insights and we have recommendations we can give to the owners of the business. Let's go and bring the other. Actually, I wanted to bring this last. Now this, before we take it, let me remove, let's go back to our default, remove that mode. Now, you see that the one that is highest is at the bottom and the one that is lowest is at the top. How do we change that? First of all, let's remove the buttons. Let's remove the legend. We can change this. This was number of transactions by, was it revenue transactions? It was transactions by per category. Transactions per category. So I will filter this bold. You know, when you filter, when you select, there is always this shortcut tooltip that comes. You can always use that without clicking back home, blah, 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 blah. So here we go. So ideal, I don't need this. And I need labels because I will not need this. So I will put here labels. First of all, I will first increase this. Then what we are talking about, why is it that here we have transactions descending and here we have ascending? The chart and the pivot table, they always reverse. So there is always an option here at the end when you come to format. Actually, it is here. Just a moment. Format data series. Options. But reverse. It's unfortunate I'm not seeing it. I don't know, maybe because it is the rush I'm on. There is a format that we are supposed to, let me check. Format access. Yeah, here it is. Sorry, I was clicking in the wrong spot. So you right click on the axis because we want this axis curve to be at the top. So you right click on this axis. Click on the axis first. Right click on the axis, then you come on. Just a moment. Yeah, right click on the axis, then format. My mouse is misbehaving. Yeah, format axis. So format axis, when we get the format for the axis, it adds another label and it has this check. Categories in reverse order. So when I click on this, it flips them. And that's how you flip them, by checking these categories in reverse order. So you can go ahead and add here data labels. And these data labels, you can choose either to put them inside, on the base, outside, with callouts. You know better how you want it. So I will choose to put them at the top. Let me put them, okay, let me put them outside end, such that they are visible. I don't want to change the color. cut this and take it the other side. So I will have it here. I can put it here at the top and make sure so you can go ahead and do all the formats. So here I will, remember we are working with the fill to solid white, and we increase, what am I doing? It's supposed to be the full chart, solid white, and increase the transparency. Here we go. Let's pick the last one. The last one was a table. You see this table? You can go ahead and create formats here. Save, just a moment. Sorry, we have gone above the time. My Excel is acting up. But I can have questions coming through. So you can always create condition formattings depending on how you need, because we are going to take the whole of this table the way how it is. So you can come always on condition formatting and add like bars. You can add like bars like this. You can choose the bars you feel like can work for you. Since we have been blue people, we can go with that. And even revenue here. Now for revenue, I can go ahead and add a condition formatting for color scale, and I added this color scale. So you can even always work on the color scale and see how you format it right. So I'm going to take this table. You can go ahead and rename your headers. That is product type. Make sure that everything is in place. Then I'm going to copy this and come this side, click here, then come on paste. This time I want to paste it as a linked image. I don't know whether you have ever done this. We are pasting it as a linked picture. It will come here as a picture. You see it is a picture, but ideally the other side it is a table. Why are we bringing it as a linked picture? Such that when we are changing here, when we are working with our slicer, these values should always also change. Let's say if I click on a story, they will change. Because this side where it is, they have changed. Sorry, it has lost the option for the bars, but it's okay, you can look into that. So which means if I work Hell Kitchen, it will change. This, it will change. But remember, this is just a picture. So when you always want to carry a full table, don't carry it with its numbers, like with its cells editable. Why? It is going to come here and disorganize these cells. You will have to rearrange those cells every time it disorganizes them. So guys, at the moment, we have a fully fledged, I can't say it is a dashboard the best you can ever have, but at least we have tried to pull it up in 2 hours. Actually, we started at 11:11, and this is 13:11. So if I put this in full mode, we are now going to present to our business owners. We're already presenting. Let me go ahead and center this. Now, you're presenting here, discussions go on, which means now you'll start telling the team that, you know what, we always get sales for all our kitchens. The highest sales in revenue or transactions are always from, looking at this top, from 7 to 10. It means that if it is always to get manpower, you can always get it at that point. If you have an HR who wants to manage people going for half-day leave, or working half day, which means this kitchen people can work from, some people can work from morning to midday and others go home. You remain with like 2 people managing this number of transactions. Those are decisions being made from this data that we have created. Then we have more sales on Monday, Thursday, and Friday. There has to be a decision done. We have less sales on Saturday. You can give the reasons if you're on ground, because you have to do research on ground. Why do we have less sales on Saturday? Then revenue per month. You'll realize that Feb always has less revenue coming through. You can give an analogy that there are few working days because they are 28 or to 29, others have to 31, but that doesn't speak to that. Maybe there is a seasonality that between May and June, there is something that happens in that area. Obviously, you can go ahead and select the different kitchens to look at how the sales run per month, but nearly all of them are in the same trend.